Honourable members, we now have a quorum. The Honourable Member for the Minister for Commerce will say press this morning. Sorry, the Honourable Minister for Community Development.
Thank you. Let us pray. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, we thank you for today is another day of blessing for us. As we all leaders come together here to discuss the issue of our country, we ask for your goodness and love, even though, Lord, we have all our shortcomings and failures. But we thank you for the love that you have, that always reminds us that even though we are not worthy, but you're always there for us. Forgive all our failures as we stand together united in this house to do the work of your people in this country. I ask this prayer in the name of Jesus. And also we continue by saying the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. And forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And as thine kingdom, power and glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Honourable members, me like Tok Sabel of the Parliament, also you got all teachers from Koyare, Park Adventist Secondary School. Now all members of Karamui local level government, Karamui Numane district, Simbu province. All staff now on the Yumi, the public gallery. So on behalf of the Parliament, me extend him all this visitor a warm welcome. Petitions? No petitions, notices? No gara. Ask him in our talk survey for 5 minutes. Governor Blong, Isivik.
Ask him in our talk survey, me like directing me go long minister, I look out him elections na I look out him census. Sorry, me no sabe good lo title blue, so me addressing you also.
Point of order.
Me I got request to come long all LLG presidents belong ICPIC na one plus ward member belong me two long Jangit me go border one time Ramu long Medeng province Max Okum Oli Salim asking me come, so me must ask him you. Me understand also he got a budget below close to I think 120 million and belong LLG elections. You can confirm him this plan or not. Number one, ask him. Number two, ask him and also enough you talk sabe long all people belong. You me long Papua New Guinea whether this all get a money all line long electoral commission ikisim penis or no got. Number two, ask him. Number three, also display me concern belong all LLG presidents belong ICPIC. Na all ward members belong ibla. He got all outstanding bills where electoral commission been come long conducting 2022 elections. Now only go now only obtaining services belong man merilo place only kisim all speedboat, only kisim all car, even private car, all kisim plan it through. Now only no been paying all this bills now only outstanding yet is that. Okay, recently long time long walking census one kind person come up. All line long NSO, you go down long ECP, na only go kisim all car, na kisim all kind all services where only need him, guest house, blol man Mary. Now this blol bills too, outstanding nice stuff. So plan the complaint, he go long all ward members blol me plan, I go through all presidents also. Only like him this blol bills by this two agency staff and need look out blow you. He straight him past them before long. You play, go ahead, walking walk long LLG elections. I think display me same concern is that me harim sample narlo member to talk. Lo narlo province to one guy. So enough you give him one pla. Talk sawe go long all service providers long ECP na long Papua New Guinea too also. You play got money finish na by play straight him all get a display dinner blue play go back in upload 2022. I'm not blasking. Na final one I'm also. Enough you confirm him suppose all LLG elections by come up lo time where good bla minister belong local level government na provincial government it talking me bla because you got plenty kind thing is stop long all leaders below you long local level government. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister of Provincial and Local Level Government. Sorry, Aswa, Minister of Law Administrative Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank you. Good luck questions for regional member for ECP Emi raising. Emi ask him. Emi no sabe lo title below me, so just talk out lo here so that them now get another member can sabe title below me as a minister. I'm Minister for Administrative Services and Minister assisting the Prime Minister on constitutional matters. So I'm look lo both administrative side belong all area where I'm come up in National Statistics Office, PNG Civil and Identity Registry. One time this Islami look out in Electoral Commission, PNG Electoral Commission, ICAC, na Ombudsman Commission, Kamana Nitlo Ministry Blomi. So just clear him just so in the future, imi all get a consawel or work Blomina, title law Ministry Blomi. Question law, Governor, in two folds. One is in relation to the work that PNG Electoral Commission is undertaking in terms of what funding has been allocated to it. And then, of course, the census and the outstanding invoices or payments to the service providers that's still pending. So, to the first question, I can assure the good governor and the people of Papua New Guinea, and especially the people of ECPIC, that the government is responsible, and we have allocated. I brought a submission into NEC last week, which was fully endorsed by NEC. And a budget of 180 million has been allocated to conduct not only the LNG elections, but also to run 5 by-elections this year. So out of that 180 million that's been allocated in that submission, 156 million kina has been allocated to the for the LLG election, and 26 million kina has been allocated for the 5 by-elections. The 5 by-elections will include Aitapelumi, Usino Bundi, Kaboom, Central Bougainville, and Pogera Paala, which will all take place shortly. The issue in terms of the outstanding cost from the last elections, we are well aware of that. We continue to write into Treasury to remind the Treasury Department that we have an obligation as a government to offset some of those outstanding claims, because that's always going to be an issue when it comes to major events, and it can have a tendency to have an impact on effectively delivering some of these important events. So in terms of census, as you're aware, when we looked at the budget, it was well over 310 million kina that was proposed for the census. When we looked at it, we cut out all the non-essentials, meaning that we cut out all the hire cars and all that out of the questions of the budget. And then we requested that all provinces provide government vehicles to conduct this event, but I'm not sure whether the provinces were able to assist in that space, which had forced some of the census coordinators and managers to go out and obtain hire cars to be able to carry out that event. We are, as a responsible government, obligated to ensure that we clear those outstanding. But before we do, after the census was concluded on the 16th of December last year, I have requested that they provide me an audit report, because as a minister, I want to know where the money was spent. I want the government to be accountable. I want us to know that the money was spent correctly and in the right places and to the right service providers. I was assured in a brief meeting yesterday that the audit report will be provided to me either today or Monday. Once I'm satisfied with that audit report, and I'm sure that it is, we will then clear, we have 3 million there, we will clear some of the outstanding claims, and whatever that shortfall, I will then request Treasury to assist us to ensure that we clear all these outstanding claims that are pending. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member Blogorga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, question below me without notice, and me like asking long good plan Minister Block Coffee. Mr. Speaker, Mission Appeal on Marking Mouse from all farmers. Lig Belevi Blongol. Mr. Speaker, in terms of coffee in the Eastern Islands, also lo Chimbu na plant yard in Salong, Papua New Guinea, between 4 to 5% of the coffee, all export coffee bloimi, and come along all rural areas. By addressing this issue, lo assisting all farmers bloimi lo rural areas, government has been put on the policy called the Freight Subsidy Program policy. Mr. Speaker, this is a policy, and one of the vital policy of the government. Now, this is a policy that you are investing 1 million kina lo moving freight na assisting all farmers bloimi. The return looks like coffee and Jimmy Saksim. For every 1 million, we get about 4 million kina. That's the rate of the return belong. Farmers lo Jimmy. Belevi blol. Now me like to ask him, good Minister of Coffee, this is a freight subsidy program. Last year, all farmers in been benefit longam. This year, all farmers too, lo coffee, benefit longam. Now, like sawe one time, all farmers lo coffee will benefit longam. Farmers in Salo Karamui. Farmers in Salo Ramu, farmers in Salo Buslo Kevian, farmers in Salo Buslong, Alatau. Plant yields of farmers depend on the freight subsidy program. Lo coffee tasol, but also lo cocoa too. So me asking good Minister Bloimi, this is a freight subsidy program one time, but government releasing money lo assist all farmers Bloimi. Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Member Bloyumilo Koroka. No, this is a good question. Before me answering this question, me taking this time. Welcome you, Speaker, back to the chair. It's always good to see you there and directing all the traffic in this house. So, thank you. But back to the question. It's a very good question, and coffee, as we all know, supports about 450,000 households in this country. That's about 3 million individuals we're talking about. Coffee used to be the leading agricultural export in our country, but unfortunately, we say the oil palm has taken over. But one point that I want to make today is that the retention rate from oil palm. Who owns this industry, and how many of our people are benefiting from oil palm directly? Do we own that industry or not? So as a minister for this commodity, coffee, I think coffee, we are still leading in this country. Yes. Because the coffee industry is owned by Papua New Guineans, about 3 million Papua New Guineans. So to the coffee farmers and growers out there, we have to be thankful to this government, Marape Rosso government, for creating a ministry that can be specific and that can be microscopic in the attention to details insofar as coffee is concerned. Whilst I would have loved to have been given a prior notice on this question, but let me try and answer in the best ability that I can. But the freight funding that the good member is referring to is parked under the Department of Agriculture. It's not parked under CIC. And so our farmers out there, please, that's where the money has been parked all of this time. And we've been writing to Treasury that what debt is due to coffee be parked under CIC, and that has never happened. But for this year, the good news is we have this government has been specific, has been clear on its direction for coffee, and there's a substantial increase in the budget.
Yes.
And as a result, there's a component for freight support as well, price support, freight support, the plantation rehabilitation. There's about 80 or 90 million. That's a big budget that this government has appropriated, and so for the freight support, good member, as you know, and as we all know, coffee is the epicenter of coffee is in Eastern Highlands. And sometimes I tend to wonder, and the questions that have been asked on this floor, on the Connect PNG program, that there are places in Eastern Highlands where 70 to 80% of our coffee come from. Similarly to well palm, to cocoa, to copra. These are the places that we need to connect them up with road. The Connect PNG program. Connect PNG program funding. Connect PNG program funding is not a funding to connect from one district to another within a province. It should never be the case.
Good point, good point.
Whether that's been done or not, I'm making a point because there are a lot of coffee farmers in Eastern Highlands that have traveled. That have traveled one whole week in this particular province. And there are places and plantations and hectares of people that needs to be connected by road so that this producer, the coffee can come out. They're similar to other commodity crops as well. Anyway, let me not bore you all with all the side talks. Back straight to the point. We have what we call to help our farmers this year. We got a 10 million for price support. That money under my watch will be paid directly to the farmers. Farmers, I mean smallholders and the blockholders. Smallholders are the ones with 1 to 5 hectares of plantations. 1 hectare is about 3,000 trees. 1 to 5 hectares is the small farmers, smallholders. And the blockholders are 6 to 20 hectares. Anything beyond that is a plantation. So for the smallholders and the blockholders, the 10 million is for you. But for you to qualify, we will introduce what we call a green gold card. That card operates on a similar platform as the visit arrivals card. When you go out of the country, or any visitors that come into the country, they complete a form called the arrival card. Now, it's the same card, same principles, but we will extend it to include the name of the village, the council word, the LLG, the district, and the province where that farmer is from. We will also include the bank account details of that particular farmer. And that card, once completed and obviously launched by way of our government policy, that card will be then stationed at the factories, at the wet bin and the dry bin factories around the country. And once the farmer comes to the factory and sells his or her produce, he or she will be required to complete that form as well, good member. Sorry, Speaker. He or she will be required to complete that form, and that form will be kept at the factory. And then that form will be the property of the CIC, Coffee Industry Corporations Limited. Every month, that form will be remitted to the CIC. Similarly, the visit arrival cards is the immigration's property. And the Tourism Promotion Authority goes to immigration, picks up that card, the arrival card, and enters into a database. And that is how you work out the visit arrivals in this country, whether they are bona fide tourists, whether they are PNG citizens returning to the country, or whether they are visitors or visiting families and friends. Similarly, that card will be picked up, will be lodged at the CIC, and CIC will enter it into a database that we are developing. And then, at the end of each month, you get a printout of who is the real coffee farmer out there. That individual by name, by account details, by council word, by area G, by district, and by province. So we as politicians, it's a rare opportunity that's been created by coffee that we can tap into the CIC system, and then you get a printout every month, and you will see who the coffee farmers are there. And this can be emulated into oil palm, into cocoa, into copra. So we would know who the real farmers are there. And these are the people that get their hands dirty. These are the people that we need to support, our Papua New Guinean citizens. Once we start to do that, you will never see our citizens on the streets selling cold water, Coca-Cola, boy, smoke. It's an eyesore. Our people must need to get back to the land. And for us in coffee, this is what we will do. And then the price support money, the 10 million that we have this year, we will know exactly who is the rightful recipient of that money. That money is not for the factory owners, export license owners, the big players in the industry. This money is for our small people in the rural communities that are involved in coffee across this country. That is the direction we are taking in coffee. And this is a paradigm shift in the way we've looked after our farmers in coffee. I am pretty sure and certain that this will work for our people. So to you coffee farmers out there, this government hasn't forgotten you. We've come up with this vehicle through which you can get double pricing for your coffee. Yeah. Because you are the ones that make your hands dirty. You mean, online lo place, walking honey dirty. You mean, finding good price blow coffee blow you me. This la government blow you me. And me looks how well this la pain blow you blah. So, honorable member, your question is in order. And I hope I am in order to answer that question.
Deputy Opposition Leader.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. My question without notice this morning, Honourable Speaker, goes to the good Minister for Oil Palm. But whilst I have this opportunity, Minister, I would like to give our full commendation to the Marlborough Russell government, and especially in the Prime Minister exercising his prerogative to appoint certain ministers that have been absolutely outstanding in their performance and policy implementation. The opposition not only holds the executive government to account, we give credit where credit is due too. Firstly, I would like to give our full recognition and commendation to the good Minister for Coffee. As of late, you have been the #1 topic of discussion in both Eastern Highlands and Simbu, and I completely salute you. Thank you. Through you, Honourable Speaker. Secondly, I would like to commend the Honourable Minister for Higher Education and Sports for your interaction with the institutions, for elevating the status of the institutions, for driving policy effectively. It is a breath of fresh air, and for a first-time MP, both you and the Minister for Coffee, we would like to commend you. Yeah. And on that note, I would like to also take this opportunity to thank one of our political gurus, the Honourable Minister for International Trade and Investment, the Honourable Minister Maru, for effectively driving his ministry, promoting trade and investment for the country, promoting the overall profile for Papua New Guinea in the international arena. We would like to also salute the Prime Minister in his selection and appointment of these ministries, Mr. Speaker. On that note, we saw that the Minister provided a very comprehensive report, Mr. Speaker, on what was happening in the oil palm industry in support of his counterpart minister, the Minister for Oil Palm. And in that he alluded to disparity in the pricing regime for our oil palm producers, and with the potential that the oil palm industry has the potential to bring in billions of kina for revenue for Papua New Guineans. Honourable Speaker, the comprehensive report highlighted a tip of the iceberg where we saw that the East New Britain Oil Palm Limited had underpaid smallholders by 38 million. It could be more. Now, from the comprehensive report, my question to the good oil palm minister, Mr. Speaker, is when will you bring in the appropriate legislation or policy to enact the recommendations provided in this very comprehensive report provided by the good Minister of International Trade and Investment, so that we can give our farmers in the oil palm industry a fair go throughout the country. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Minister for Oil Palm.
Thank you, Speaker. I'd like to commend the opposition leader, Honourable James Nomane, for this very important question. Deputy Opposition Leader, Honourable James Nomane. Thank you for this the very important question, basically because oil palm is a commodity that is leading in terms of the revenue in this country. And again, I also want to commend Honourable Minister for Trade and Investment for the very important report that he has produced in regard to investigation of the oil palm development in East New Britain. Okay, for the oil palm industry, we know very well the act that has been here for the last 50 years is the Smallholder Act. The Smallholder Act only covers 5 projects in Papua New Guinea: Hoskins Project, Biala Project, Popondeta Project, New Island, and Millen Bay. Okay, because of the Smallholder Extension Service Act, the East New Britain project is not covered under that act. That is why there is no proper price formula that is derived for the projects that are developed under SABL, in which East New Britain is one of the projects that has been developed after the Oil Palm Extension Service Act. So in doing so, as you can see in East New Britain, Mr. Speaker, the development in East New Britain, so as in East and West Sepik and the other developments, are developed after the SABL and also the ILG concepts developed in Papua New Guinea. The SABL is from the Forest Act, and also the ILG is from the Land Act. So for this case of East New Britain, that is why they face so much trouble in the way the developers or the investors has been attending or been providing service to the growers. Basically because I call it as an outlaw program in Papua New Guinea. There is no legislation, there is no policy, or there is no regulation in Papua New Guinea that covers the latest developments of oil palm in Papua New Guinea. So that is why it is very important today that we basically have to have the policy, and I thank the Marape Rosso government for identifying oil palm as a commodity that will drive the economy of this country. And rightfully, now that I've been appointed minister for the oil palm, appropriately we seriously have to see and make sure we support the industry that is going to lead the economy of this country 50 years onwards. So in regard to the legislation and policy, we now have already submitted to the NEC the National Oil Palm Policy for the oil palm in Papua New Guinea for the first time on the 10th of March 2025. So for the legislation, basically because we know, as the report is clearly presented to this House, it has been derived, the price formula that is derived from the NOW Act or the Extension Service Act, it does not include projects as has been in East New Britain, West Sepik, East Sepik, and we have also project in Central Province. So that is why we already have a draft legislation that's going to drive our future of our country. But the important thing is that we really have to see the importance of the how we're going to deal with the oil palm 50 years and onward, now and 50 years to come. So seriously, as we can see, the 50 years of oil palm developed in Papua New Guinea, it is basically for a land settlements program that has been delivered into our country. So now that we're going to deliver the new legislation or the policy and the legislation, we seriously have to incorporate the importance of land. So land must be considered or incorporated in the way we're going to drive the oil palm into the 50 years or into the future. And again, seriously, today we have to say that the environmental aspect of how we're going to develop oil palm must be considered. So that is why we're seriously looking at how we can be able to do that. And we have already a draft, but we have to do more of consultation in which it must be have a proper consultation with the milling companies. And again, for Papua New Guinea, it is said to mention that we have only foreign companies in this country or in Papua New Guinea. That is why we have to consider the importance of how we're going to see new developments into customary land, in which we're going to have alignment with the Department of Lands with respect to the concept that we really have to take on board in the new legislation. And number two, Mr. Speaker, we seriously have to see the way, because of that question raised or the report raised by Minister for Trade and Investment, we also see that the importance of oil palm market today is based on it is like more environmental orientated. So we see these very important agendas. One, the land. The two, the best practices, the new modern best practices in the oil palm, and also how we're going to incorporate the environmental aspect or the best practices environmentally in the new development. So that is why it will take only so small time to make sure that we accomplish the new legislation, and then we can be able to present to NEC. But otherwise, we're working on that one, so we consider more importantly the milling companies in Papua New Guinea now, and we attend to the new provinces that are going to be included in the new legislation, and at the same time consider the new areas, especially the grassland or savanna land in Papua New Guinea. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Governor of Long Enga Province.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question, without notice, directed to the Honourable Prime Minister. Since I have this opportunity today, let me take this opportunity on behalf of the people of Enga Province to thank the former Prime Minister, the Honourable Peter O'Neill and this government, and of course now our current Prime Minister and this government, the Honourable James Marape government, for supporting the Enga Province in realising one of our dreams to have a provincial hospital. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Without the support of the government, these two governments, we wouldn't have achieved this milestone project. So it is proper that we thank those people, including all bureaucrats who have contributed to seeing this project completed. Mr. Speaker, my questions to the Prime Minister are in relation to Pogara. Just a couple of simple questions to the Prime Minister for the benefit of my people in the province. Number one is in relation to CDA. The people of Enga, and especially the people affected and impacted by Pogara mine, are still waiting for CDA to be completed. As Prime Minister is aware, Mr. Speaker, most of the cake has been cut. Now, there's a lot of expectation. People think that there's more to cut. I think this CDA needs to be signed up quickly. The mine has been operating for more than a year now, and people are not benefiting. And that can cause a little bit of tension and problems. So, Prime Minister, if you can tell the people of Enga, especially the people of Pogra and those affected, riverine people, when we can conclude this. That's question number one. Question two is that since we closed the mine, up to about now going to 6 years, no maintenance work was done on the road. Now, this is an economic road, Mr. Speaker. So I would like to know if the government can intervene very quickly to upgrade this very important economic road, which is known as the Enga Highway, starting from Togoba to Pogra. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Lord Laramie Beckham, Tok Long, the Governor of Enga Province, but pass them through me like acknowledge him continued leadership Long Enga, and he has shown extreme, strong, resilient leadership in the face of many challenges that remains prevalent in the province. A great commendation must go to his leadership on the ground, whilst putting out fire in respect to lawlessness and tribal conflicts. He still maintains focus on development in the province. A wonderful example to many of our provincial leaders that it is your province. You have unbroken 5-year mandate. Some of us have 18 months check on us. Some of you, especially the provincial leadership and even the district leadership, full 5 years for concerted work. And Governor Iparas must be commended despite many negatives also that are associated with the province. He, at all material times, tries his best for the furtherance of the Enga people interests within the context of national interest. And I want to confirm my travel into Enga province on the 31st of March, where the Enga Provincial Hospital, which become a possible designated regional hospital in respect to specialist facilities. It's something that we will discuss on the ground on the 31st when we open the hospital, 31st of March. But this hospital is a work over many, many years that is culminating with this phase. As I did indicate a day or two ago, it's a greenfield development from a new site, from planning all the way to where it is today. And with the caution of quality, especially in respect to standards, those considerations are given also as we work to make sure we start up something that is that maintains standard and the systems are functioning. So, Governor, commendations to you. I remember in 2008 that concept first emerged, and Governor was running around with a team of experts who were trying to put the hospital together. And from concept in around those years to actually hospital ready to be opened, a wonderful legacy to continuation of leadership that is at work in hard place. I want to also appreciate the previous government that started the project and our own government from 2019 upwards that ramped up the funding for it to be readied. Enga province hosts important Pogra mine. When we signed the Pogra mine, the new Pogra mine agreement, the new SML was issued premised on higher return to our country. And the higher returns rotates around 51% of equity to PNG beneficiaries, 3% of a better refined royalty. This royalty definition comes outside of yesterday's passage of the Income Tax Act. And so will not be benefiting from the Income Tax Act that we passed yesterday, but in any case, a better defined royalty. And for those who want to understand what I mean by better defined royalty, at another session I could explain, especially those who have an interest, but it's a better defined royalty, 3%, and also more employment opportunity, the preferential sequencing of employment, ENGA first, rest of PNG second, and international third. We've earmarked for over 90% of employment to be Papua New Guinea-based employment and to phase out completely international employment in due time. It's a mine that will also spin a lot of businesses as we restart up again in the same sequence of employment. ENGA preferential business first, then rest of the country second. And there's the management of the new program limited and Barrick Gold have clearly indicated that for those who want to do business in Pogra, you must have resident office in ENGA province. So whether you are landowner yourself, landowner business or ENGA province business, you must have a resident office in ENGA province. So these are part of the construct of the new Pogra that is meant to trap back more wealth in our country and in the host province. And I want to say to our people who are waiting for CDA process, the mining minister and the MRA has been assembling all the submissions. The submissions also will give consideration to submission from the riverine area that starts in the Pogra Valley, that runs right through the side of West Sepik Province and Hela Province, and also some kilometers into Western Province in as far as the environmental impact zone is concerned. So those are three other provinces that has an impact or is in the project area footprint. Their views are also given consideration. But a key line that Governor used, Mr. Speaker, is that there is no additional benefit to our landowners in ENGA province. You stand to benefit the greatest. Right in the mine development contract, and the SML stipulates a 15% equity that will not be awaiting total recovery costs. It is paid right from first gold. So your 15% equity is sitting as we speak. From first gold, you get 15%. That's a far cry from the 5% that was the beneficiary ceiling under SML1. 5% to 15% is a 300 or 200% increase. And also on top of this one, what used to be a 2% royalty, now you're getting a 3% royalty. So all in all, ENGA province and beneficiaries are getting 18% if you include a 3% royalty and 15% equity. Total calculation out of the production of gold, deducting the cost of production, you are sitting at 18%. Now in the discussion on equity as well as royalty, the other three sister impacted provinces and landowners has a view that they also are entitled to a little portion of royalty and equity and benefits. This possibly is one of the reasons why the Mine Mineral Resource Authority have been working to find out where exactly they make the conclusion in respect to giving respect to Western Province, West Sepik, Hela Province, as well as the upload of power, the power line from Heights to Pogra for the electrical needs of the mine. So those few areas are being tidied, but Governor, I want to give you an assurance as I come for the hospital program in Wabek on 31st. If I have the conclusion of CDA, we could indicate there. If it is not, then in the month of April, we could have occasion up there in Pogra, where we announced to the people the conclusion of CDA. So thank you for raising this important pointer to me. Taking this question, I just want to ask our people in Pogra. Resettlement remains a very big part of this government's focus, and the new Pogra we built into the agreement, the SML and MDC, resettlement as an important element of the new Pogra. So villages like Yarik, villages like Kulapi, and others where Pogra, for the benefit of every one of us here in the country, Pogra mine is not in an isolated area. Pogra mine is really the resources taken from a settled area. So we, since 1990, when the mine started, no effective relocation of people from the mine site has taken place. So as part of the close-up and to reopen, we intend to fully resettle people out of the mine area, give them a decent future in a proper resettlement. Governor, I want to commend again your team from having a clear resettlement plan as we announced CDA. Part of the announcement also must entail or will entail the clear path for resettlement. So we isolate people coming in from outside, and at the moment the trend of illegal visitors into Pogra, participating in illegal mine, is something that is not good, and we must contain at the earliest. I want to also indicate that in linking to your second question, we've discussed with the new Pogra mine, subject to the availability of infrastructure tax credit with an envelope. We'll be discussing with New Pogra Limited if they could carve out infrastructure development, infrastructure tax credit sort of envelope. And mind you, Mr. Speaker, yesterday's income tax act we passed also includes now, I think there was a concern raised by one of us here, it now includes into law 2% of every project can be carved out for infrastructure tax credit. So we intend to use some of the possibility of our tax credit from Pogra to fix this road and other roads in and around Pogra so that they are clear, accessible roads for business, law enforcement, and community use. So, Governor, those will be, but I give you my full assurance. Works Minister is advised through this question, and my response to look at the maintenance, and that road also will have to pass through the current blockages and slippages as a result of the Mulitaka. But a combination of fund, national government as well as ICT has been looked at to ensure roads, not just in main roads in Enga, but also all asset roads in and around Pogra, Kandep, Tari Pogra Road that runs through Mount Kare. All this can be looked at so that we open up the place. And Governor, I want to give you my assurance. On 31st of March, when we in Wabek, hopefully I would have brought with me the CDA team. Or if not, we set a date for CDA in the occasion after in Wabek. But thank you for your strong leadership. I appreciate your presence in Enga continually. And to the people of Enga and Pogra, you are the greatest beneficiary of the new Pogra Gold Project. When we concluded, it was concluded at a price. The new Pogra was modeled at a price $1,537 an ounce. Today, the price of gold has gone past $3,000 an ounce. So for the naysayers, sometimes it pays to be patient. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member of Loabao.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before I ask a question, can I request for an extension for question time? And I blame the government for coming late all the time this week.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those in favor say aye. Oh. Please stand. Honourable members, question time will not be extended. So,
Thank you.
Honourable Member Blaubaum.
Point of order.
We have a point of order. Honourable Member Yalbu Pangia, one point of order, will you?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just for housekeeping, Mr. Speaker, question time is specific for 45 minutes. And as you know, ministers and Prime Minister has an opportunity to make Prime Ministerial statements and minister statements on the floor. They should take that opportunity. And I think, Mr. Speaker, you should now review the standing orders to limit the questions to a certain amount of time and answers to a certain amount of time so we can have more questions during this period. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member Blong Yalbu Pangia, Chair note him comment, please. Honourable Member Blaubaum, you can ask him question, please.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I ask my question to the Honourable Prime Minister through you, on this side, you and the clerk and the deputies don't notice that on this side the timekeeper is black. On that side, it's working. This has remained black for the last 3 terms of Parliament because you are facing that way and you are not seeing what we are seeing. So can the Clerk of Parliament fix this thing this afternoon so when we come back again it's working so we don't stretch too much on the other side?
Your concern is noted, Honourable Member Blaubaum.
Thank you. Honourable Speaker, my question goes to the Honourable Prime Minister. With regards to the serious and very sensitive issue of the debate on the future political status of Bougainville, the last thing we need is an impasse between the 2 consulting bodies during this time. I noticed this week, since the Prime Minister's statement, if so, is what he said, which appeared on the front line of the Post Courier on Tuesday this week. And it reads, "You are not ready. Marape tells Toroama. Economy and guns still an issue of Bougainville." My question, Honourable the Speaker, can the Prime Minister acknowledge or deny that that is actually what he said? If so, in my humble opinion, we don't need that at this time of the important phase where the good government, through himself and the Minister for Bougainville Affairs, have now got an opportunity through an international independent moderator, the Honourable Sir Jerry Matapera, in his efforts to manage the processes that lead up to bringing the result of the referendum to the floor of Parliament. We do not need this type of statements at this time. So my question to you, Mr. Speaker, is if the Prime Minister, is it true that you said that? And my question is, can you withdraw that? The second issue and the question that will follow is, there are acknowledged 4 outstanding issues yet to be sorted out during this consultation phase. And they also appeared in the Post Courier, and I know that under the JSB processes, both sides are fully aware of them. But our independent international moderator highlighted 4 of them, and one of them, the Minister for Bougainville Affairs, answered a good question, and he answered it very well on the issue of the sessional order and the percentage of voting for the Parliament. I think that's been sorted out as we speak. But there are three other issues, to me, in my opinion, are very, very important. One of them is the issue of how, through the moderator, we can help assist during the consultation phase on try and address all the substantive issues before the referendum result is brought to the floor of Parliament. And the substantive issues relate to the issues that we need to ponder on whether this Parliament will vote for or in favor, for or against, and if for or against, what do we do as a country and as a government? In my opinion, those are very important substantial issues. The second outstanding matter is establishing a bipartisan committee. That has not been established yet. So the question is, when will that bipartisan committee, I think accepted by both governments, when will it be established? Because, as you and I know, this year will be the Bougainville election. And so they will be very busy preparing for the Bougainville election. I understand the agreement in Warbeck was 2027 could be the deadline where the result could be brought to the floor of Parliament. And then, as you and I know, 1st of September 2027 is the decision that ABG leaders have put aside as the preferred date for them to be granted independence. The Prime Minister's statement is recorded in this Post Courier on Tuesday, plus the processes that the Bougainville government is going through in writing up a constitution for the independent state, plus nominating a date for independence, in my opinion, are preemptive. While the consultation process is still going on, I ask for some restraint because of this important sensitive issue. And I ask the Prime Minister, withdraw your statement or explain to the people what you meant and ensure that the consultation process is going through. And 2027 is also our election too. So these dates are in the consultation phase. In my view, the dates are also very difficult to manage at the same time. So we have a lot of work to do. As I said in my statement, the last thing we need in this country on the issue of Bougainville is an impasse or paper war between our two governments. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Prime Minister.
All right, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to appreciate the question raised by the member for Abao. And I want to say to all members of Parliament, because the senior member for Abao seems to be making reference to Post-Korea as a source of authority. I want to say, since when has Post-Korea become a source of authority? Post-Korea and Facebooks are not a source of authority or source of truthful information, but they are a spewer and spinner of opinions and a symbol of what they may feel was uttered. So I want to ask all of us that cross-check your information from credible, reliable source first before fully relying on Post-Korea or any news for that matter, needless to just brand only Post-Korea, even Facebooks, because truth may be distorted or it may be far from the truth in any case. But having said this, the question needs to be raised, especially on the importance of Parliament understanding the work that is currently on foot. Mr. Speaker, in 2019, when we became government, and coincidentally, the member for Abao was the minister responsible for Bougainville. Under his words, the referendum was held. Under his words, the referendum was held. And so, a referendum was meant to be held. I want to acknowledge that we were facing the sunset of the 2001 peace agreement signed on August 30, 2001. It calls for referendum in a period of 10 years after that agreement, or no later than 15 years after that agreement. And in that referendum, it was explicit that a question on independence, whether they vote for independence in absolute clarity or vote for autonomy. And Mr. Speaker, based on, and I did in that meeting, we had, I want to indicate to this Parliament, I was transparent in the meeting that we had in the last consultation. This meeting we last had is a Section 342(1) meeting. Section 342, subsection 1 meeting, or in everyday language, post-referendum consultation. Post-referendum consultation, sorry, member for Abao, Sepuka is correct. That's a provision for post-referendum consultations. If you look at Section 342, subsection 2 also, it gives a place for national parliament to make a decision. And for the first time since (2019), we've outlaid to them clearly that the process of parliament must be respected. I want to commend Minister Manasseh and Minister Massat, his counterpart in Bougainville. Eventually, also, the Bougainville leadership and Bougainville people, I want to commend Bougainville in every sense, because they are the greatest victim in this saga that has been in our midst 14 years since we became independent. And they've agreed that Parliament has a place for and a role for Parliament. And we cannot ignore, and I emphasized clearly in that meeting that you cannot ignore constitutional provisions. Section 342, subsection 2 demands that Parliament must make decision, and we outlaid to them clearly that in a constitutional matter, Bougainville peace process is a constitutional matter. Part 14 of our Constitution, the entire provisions in Part 14 is embedded in Constitution. When you deal with constitutional matters, constitutional numbers prevail in the affirmative or in the negative. Every decision on the floor of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, you may correct me, but it is my humble view that every decision we take on the floor of Parliament transacts by way of a vote. Even the high and nigh are votes. Because if someone is uncertain, they move a division on you, and you actually call for the actual vote. So every decision made on the floor of Parliament happens as a result. The decision is established by a vote that takes place. And I put to the Bougainville leadership clearly, Minister Manasseh did assist me, and again I commend the Bougainville leadership for understanding that the National Parliament will make a decision. The matter is now being moderated. What is the question that is put to Parliament? What is the decision Parliament has to make? Some of these grey areas are being consulted upon, moderated upon, mediated upon, and eventually this matter will come to Parliament for each and every one of you to decide. For me, when I picked the result in Arawa, in the presence of Governor Baird was there, Deputy PM then as Minister was there, a few of the leaders were with me when we picked the decision, Governor Powi, Governor Jufa. I made a statement. I said, I am picking this result in my bag as a member for Tarif, simply stating a statement of fact that when it comes to the floor of Parliament, it will be decision based on members' vote. So, Mr. Speaker, those were clearly outlaid to Bougainville as part of my presentation this week when we had this meeting, I also put it to them some facts. And Post-Korea decided to make those facts more frontier than the entire gist of my submissions or presentation. A couple of the facts I put for this Parliament's clarity was that right now, as we speak, the entire budget's Bougainville only 5 to 10%. If I can give them additional increase, 5 to 10% are raised domestically, raised within the region. They need to work to raise internal revenue. And we also here must assist them to raise internal revenue in Bougainville. And so those were matters put to them. They must raise revenue so that they are self-sustaining. And secondly, I point to them, and this one was more so for United Nations. In 2019, when we allowed for referendum to go ahead, there were two important provisions of Section 338 of the Constitution that, in my view, was not fully dispensed or complied. That's full disposal of all guns in Bougainville and good governance. Those are requirements of our Constitution. I felt in 2019 this was not fully pointed to us by United Nations as they recommended for referendum, but in any case, the referendum goes ahead, so my position was clear. You must allow Parliament to make decisions. The beauty of the 2001 peace agreement, the spirit of which we are in this moderation, is that there's a call for consultation, post-referendum consultation. I take the recommendation by Sir Puka on the need for a bipartisan approach. The bipartisan approach is necessary. We can certainly set up a bipartisan in the matter, and we both look into discussing this, because at the end of the day, when a sessional order is moved and when the referendum results is brought into the floor of Parliament, this Parliament will deliberate and make a decision.
We have a point of order. Honourable Governor, what's your point of order?
Yeah, with due respect to the Prime Minister who's answering question from the senator from the opposition, there is no provisions for consultation by the leaders to the people of this country in relation to the result of the referendum, and there is no provisions in the Constitution, Part 14, which says that bipartisan committee or any other committee to be set up. The only constitutional requirement is that the leaders must consult each other, which means the Papua New Guinea representative of Papua New Guinea leaders and the representative of the Bougainville, they will consult each other and provide the report to Parliament under Section 342 subsection 2. That is the clear law.
Honourable Governor, by me rule whether point of order in order or in order, because Prime Minister will suggest him that he must get this bipartisan law. This house, lo yumi long, talk na address him this law, whether he need him require him law or not. Emi duty lo Parliament, lo make him this law. Prime Minister, you continue your answering question.
All right, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Talk pisin blow Governor, lo point of order, important point, making reference to that is no, he is correct in any sense. There is no reference to a bipartisan committee from a national parliament. But the meaning of Section 342 subsection 1, in terms of leaders on both sides consulting, can embrace leaders from this Parliament. Because at the end of the day, the matter comes to Parliament, and both sides of the Parliament will deal with this matter anyway.
You may get another point of order. Honourable Member Blumedang, one point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as a former Minister for Justice and a member of that committee, I just want to point out that the statement that the Prime Minister made, that they have the liberty to discuss of alternative means of consulting concerning constitutional reform, the process, this is all wrong. The governor for Morabe is correct. The law is very clear. The results of the elections, the results of the referendum is only to be consulted. The results, nothing else. And it shall be presented to Parliament to only deliberate, or whatever decision, a decision, no decision, is a matter for Parliament. So I just want to make a point. I was a former member that I served under the Prime Minister as the Minister for Justice. I attended those meetings. I read the law. And to point out that his statement is actually not correct in that regard. Thank you.
My rule sama yes, law emi sap emi talk him guide him yumi long make him display deal one emi issue lo Bougainville. So your point of whether may be correct. Harun me lo governor lo medang me ask him Prime Minister lo continue make him display ask him.
Mr. Speaker, I'm a maslo ruling below you. Section 141 below standing order, you talk some legal opinion, and know something they will talk to maslo here. So you may lose him also. But me clear along section 342 subsection 1. In literal meaning or in inferred meaning, I'd rather, because it's a very sensitive matter. When you talk about Section 2 constitutional matter of Brooklyn border block country, a fundamental something. You know, one man is a member of Tari, one man deal wanted this or something. And you may all gotta talk about this. This requires in-depth conversation. At Section 342, subsection 1, I may be wrong, but talks about consultation. Consultation, wisdom law 2001 peace agreement. I wasn't there, but they had the wisdom to say after referendum, you must get consultation. Because lest we forget, Bougainville and PNG, independence was one part of the entire peace process. Vote for independence, you know, the whole and everything. It was a crisis. It was a peace negotiation that inserted in referendum law independence one block. So when you like Brooklyn border block country, you talk about Section 2 block constitution. Well, they put in before 1975. So this land border block country, a nation exists by sovereign boundary definition. So in a one block member Lotari, legally member Lotari Lotok, Milak Brooklyn border sa mitla president na prime minister mitla toko na karang kamlo parliament aso. So the wisdom in Sepuka's wisdom that you may all gotta sit down and talk to one time. They provided for whatever the talk is. And I see the council from member for Medang and the governor for Morobe, that you have limited, so limitations, and then you come inside the parliament and result come. That's a fair assessment. But in respect to Bougainville and the legacy and the history that even predates 1975, this parliament must have the maturity and wisdom to see from their perspective, and we also see from, I've asked them in Wabek, they see from our perspective. And we find a place, if it is not independence and they've moved out from the current level of autonomy, what is it? This comes in the wisdom of many and not in the wisdom of only one person who happens to be Prime Minister or happens to be President of Bougainville. And those leaders who sat on the peace table in 2001 felt there was a need for post-referendum consultation. The alternate to this is this parliament accepting the result and making whatever decision it is. Mr. Speaker, I put to this House a very big, sensitive matter. Let no layman speak on this issue. Consult your constituent. Take the month of April. Consult your districts. Consult your provinces. That Bougainvilleans have voted for independence through a peace process that James Marab had no part in it. The sunset was facing in 2019. Member for Abao was minister then and brought in the recommendation referendum must be held. We held referendum. Let's consult our people to be fair on them. Look beyond the history. Let's be mature in these discussions. Contribute in this section 342 subsection 1 consultation process and participate in the section 342 subsection 2 decision-making process. Mr. Speaker, Post-Korea is not a source of authority or truthfulness. Listen to substance that is presented in the meeting rooms. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, Toksabe also ask him time popular and popular 10 or 5 minutes, then we have longer time minutes. Honorable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, sorry up now taking plenty time. Me like back one block question. Me move seek him leave lo chair long allow me lo back him question. Lo member lo senior young mok ask him lump time go finish.
Share him you leave long back him this last him.
Mr. Speaker, the member for Senior Yongomok asked on austerity measures and reducing deficit budget from our government's perspective. Mr. Speaker, austerity measures being advocated by the opposition is extremely dangerous. It risks far more damage to the economy than a deficit budget presents. It is totally irresponsible to recommend such policy. May be something appealing for the moment, but if we unpack what it entails, it is far too harsh in reality. To which I do speak, Mr. Speaker, austerity measures, Mr. Speaker, are reductions in government spending, increase in tax revenue, or both. These are steps to be taken to lower budget deficits and to avoid what is possibly a debt crisis. Mr. Speaker, the last 6 years has never been easy. For instance, during COVID-19 in 2020, we saw our deficit jump to a 7.3 billion. This is because our revenue fell with dramatic fall in the world economy. If we have tried to move to surplus in that year, we would have had to cut budgets and put zero to both our GOP capital and our entire, if not majority, of our goods and services budget, which together would have amounted to cutting 7.2 billion kina in 2020. Mr. Speaker, this amount covers school fees, medicines, utilities, government rentals, and every other recurrent also included in the 7.2 billion in 2020. So imagine, instead of next year, if we had to cut the deficit of 2021, this would have entailed to 6.3 billion kina. This would have zeroed out to our entire government of PNG capital budget and our donor project loans, which together came to 5.9 billion kina and still require more cuts, around 12% of goods and services on top of that. This would have meant cutting out signed contracts, which we cannot do, stopping road building in the middle of projects, which we cannot do, stopping work of many government agencies focused on important tasks like delivery of healthcare, law and order, and improving the economy. Some of our expenditures are legally required and we cannot cut them out, like payments to the provinces, the functional grants, our priority for the government, or payments to contractors, or paying interest on loans taken out years and years ago. Mr. Speaker, if I had gotten rid of the deficit budget of 2022, which was by then 5.9 billion, it would have meant similar cuts, especially 24% lower. And remember, much of our expenditures cannot be cut. So the ones that could have been hit would be hit even harder. In 2023, I would have had to take a 20% out of the budget, cutting schools, hospitals, investments in roads and police, for instance. As you can see, Mr. Speaker, to summarize, these sums are not just sums we can just cut out of a budget. We need to reduce the deficit in a slower manner and cautiously. That is why the deficit this year is only 2.9 billion kina, or 2.2% of GDP. We've brought it back down from the high in 2020. This is lower than, if you give comparison, in 2018, the deficit was 2.6. In 2024, or 2025 rather, we have a deficit that is now of only 2.2%, much lower than the 5% deficit we had in 2019 and the above 8% we had in 2020. Next year, Mr. Speaker, to assure all of you who are conscious of debt, Next year, it will fall to only under 1.6 billion. Then in 2027, we intend to go into a surplus year where our country, for the first time since 2008 or 9, would see a surplus budget. And as Treasurer always say, the start of a repayment plan to give the government of the day in 2034 a possibility of a debt-free Papua New Guinea. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to give assurance to this House in response to the question. If we were to move quickly to reduce debt, we could have the alternate was to raise taxes because of the demand and needs that we have in our country, including raising income taxes, increasing value-added tax, or tax on private businesses, including state enterprises. We decide choose to alternate or differ between increasing tax and going on a cheaper concessional borrowing to support our money plan to maintain focus in our country. I want to give assurance to this House. World Bank study shows that when debt to GDP ratio hits about 77%, you are at a level of unsustainability. That is a tipping point. We have not yet reached 77%. Our debt peaked at around 52, 53%. Mr. Speaker, I want to give assurance. If we look at our history, in 2023, for instance, our debt was 52.4%. In 2024, our debt is now 50.2%, and it is projected by 2025, our debt would have dropped back to 47.4%. All within the Fiscal Responsibility Act we amended in 2020, and making sure we remain below that threshold, and our debt is now coming back down, Mr. Speaker. So I want to, in summary, give assurance to the question that was raised by one of our senior leaders in our country, knowing very well that irresponsible debt is not good. At the time we were in government, the compressed need to sustain free education, connect PNG, free medical health, all the developments and support to districts and provinces. It was important. Government, mind you, is the biggest spender in the economy. When global economy contracted as a result of COVID-19, government had to maintain spending so the economy is seeing some activities. You asked me this question, or asked this question. NAS Fund last year put 27,000 new members. NAS Fund had 27,000 new members. In 2023, NAS Fund had 34,000 new members. Where is the new membership coming from? I also respond. In the government spending, we did create jobs out there. Connect PNG employer contracts. The other SMEs that are engaged by government. So government is a big spender in the economy. Government had to maintain spending in the economy in tough times. And I want to give assurance to everyone. From a high of 52%, we now bring it back, for the first time, gone below 50% this year. And if we stick to this trajectory, and whoever comes in government in 2027, focus on this sort of trajectory, by the 2030s, latest 2034, we could have had total debt-free in our country as we work towards growing our country. So, me like Kimbeli Silong, Mr. Speaker, long member of the Sine austerity mesa, Dr. Lo cut him dinau. You can cut him dinau, but money belongs pay him school fee go big player. Money belong give him more support long. All essential services go big player. So you mean kiss him irresponsible dinner? Kind of Japan come give me blood $280 million long 2021. 0.01% interest. 5-year grace period, but you back him over 20 years. This is kind of cheap concessional borrowing, but with lesser borrowing come by next year, but very, very minimal, and 27, but we don't borrow any money, are going to actual balanced budget, or one of you raise him, no financing budget, believe me. So we had no alternate in my view. The alternate, if you less long kiss him dinner, you cut him down 7 billion or 2020. And I'm not looking on the place where you can cut him down 27 billion or 2020, 5 billion or 2021, 4 billion or 2022. Unless if you're looking well or cut him, please talk him well or cut him, and we're going to discuss it. Thank you too much, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, I'm now time block grievance debate. Honorable Governor of Long. Oro on Northern Province.
Thank you, through Mr. Speaker. Lo gives the opportunity lo milo raising some issues lo grievance debate. Now, before me comments, me just like talk lo grievance debate itself. Now, me been raising some time go past lo not lo grievance debate. What happens from these grievance debates? So, me looking more say me by good suppose, Mr. Speaker, you got one mechanism stop whereby this concerns from me when you raising the grievance debate, you can summarize him like him relevant minister. Later come lo mipla, na mipla can track him this progress lo this concerns mipla work lo raising because plenty time also concerns mipla raising. And no what kaya come lo this concerns mipla lo raising na grievance debate and come up also one talk nothing. So also I'm legally thinking lo me where meeting me like just suggest him lo here lo house. So that small grievance debate, it got meaning. You know, lo mipla lo talk na entertain him all line work lo look lo TV or Facebook or whatever something, but it got kai by kamat lo en. Grievance debate lo me, in fact, me been like asking one question lo Minister for Mining, but me decide also by me present him also one grievance debate because me got some issues which me feel also me like. Talk land, general suggestions, recommendations, concerns. One plan, me talk land, finish, I'm like grievance debate. Not plan, one issue which me feel also me just like remind him all ministers blow you me. The time all member of parliament right come law, ministry blow you. Important also you respond. Suppose all taking time law, writing one pass. Lo concern law, people law, lo whether I'm law electorate, district law, or province law, I'm all representing all the people. Now got right law one answer. So time pass come law you, law ministry law you, call one agency you responsible law and he good law also you writing one pass law acknowledge him letter or pass. Now second, you write him next pass, law answer him query law. Talk how you by addressing the issue. Plenty time people writing plenty pass come. Now no got response you come back. Not everyone. In fact, many ministers are quite responsive. But there's one or two who tend not to do this. I won't name them. No, the law says I can't name them. So anyhow, so just a concern that me like raising me, looking also in Prime Minister, I'm to respond, for instance. Now, plenty of ministers also respond. But one no got through. No got through, no got through. So me like just point out also, please, good luck minister, all marking you because all feel also you capable of come up minister. Now you responsible man will come up minister or Mary will come up minister. So I'm important also you respond. Now suppose all head of department or head of agency inside the ministry blow you know, respond. Then you must take action and should come up on like KPI blow too. So, grievance debate for me and me like talk law. One area me like call him Mambare, where he got one proposed nickel cobalt project. So me making like grievance debate so that all people blow me lot slahap, or can harem also me raising like issue, all been raising one time me plenty time. Now also for the benefit of or not a line where only affected lots like kind of situation work will come up. Law not la provinces to the Oro province that's all. First will I point out law one la habit work will come up law plenty of agencies. Where you got one la project or one la province or district, all those are talks have a member of la district or governor of la province. Also just turn up law like law at any time without warning. Then all the holy one warden's hearing or community consultation. In many instances, all not even consulting the relevant community or the relevant landowners. Then next minute I'll come back, permit go, license go, and suddenly the particular company is turning up to carry out this particular development activity, and then all genuine landowners all emerge now. Now, and then you got conflict. Now, conflict come about, and then provincial government, the district, starts to get involved to resolve these conflicts. Very costly exercise. Now, suppose conflict the kind tension where you got violence, then people need him assistance from police. And that's costly as well. So, ministers, me like him, you issue one policy directive law, heads of departments, statutory agencies, that when they're going to carry out an activity in a province or district, they must inform the provincial government. They must inform the governor and the relevant district, the relevant member, so that they're informed and they can have their people participate in these consultations, especially for development projects, resource projects. Look, Mipla province, Mipla looking also, this like will come up close to, so we've gone and created bureaus. Mipla created one tourism bureau. Now, just most recently, Mipla created one bureau of environment and conservation, Northern Province Bureau for Environment and Conservation. I like to big thank you through the Minister, the Department of Provincial and Local Level Governments, the Honorable Soroi Eoe, and one of the most responsive minister. Every time I text him or write one, hurry up through 1, 2, and by respond. Same day, now yet. And I am by silent pass go heads of department law. Now I am by follow through so that all by respond. Honorable Prime Minister, here is a performing minister, I can tell you. So me like to big thank you through law. Now I encourage him all not governor too. Also you create him also bureau. Blow me Bureau of Environment and Conservation, we create him so that by interact one time, all get environment and conservation projects will come up inside the province, including assisting the necessary regulatory authorities to carry out their functions and activities, which many are not doing so, I have to add. And on this, I'll make a side note. We've got plenty of regulatory authorities. We've create him yet. And one of the very important functions of these regulatory authorities is to carry out investigations, inspections, and audits. Many of them are not doing it. For some reason, there is a great reluctance to enforce the laws on behalf of the people of Papua New Guinea and protect the interests of the people of Papua New Guinea. There is a great willingness to issue permits and licenses very quickly. Sometimes to companies that don't deserve it, that are coming into this country not with any consideration for the interests of this country, only for profit and greed purposes. But we facilitate those guys very quickly. Meanwhile, the enforcement mechanism of regulating, of inspections, of audits, this is hardly being done by many of these organizations. Side note, finish. So now me like go inside this talk Mambare Electoral Nickel Cobalt project inside the Botu area in Kokoda, Sohe district, Oro province. Sample clan Blomi or related clan Blomi or involved with the project too. So just to clarify that I get texts and messages quite frequently demanding to know what's happening. So Mibla writing one pass law 9th July 2024. Go law chairman law mining advisory council. Attention law managing director. Mipla no see one response yet. Please, Minister, take note. Pass Mipla talk also. Dear Chairperson, I understand that the application of the mining lease ML 530 covering exploration license 1390 mining easement 114 lease for mining purposes LMP 132 and LMP 133, which constitute the Mambara Nickel Cobalt project in Oro province, has been submitted for assessment by the Technical Assessment Branch and deliberation by the Mining Advisory Council. Now, Bibla reviews la Portal Mineral Resource Authority, Nambla noticing also last renewal date 10/6/2017, expiry date law EL 1390 9/6/2023. Now, last renewal application date and 14/3/2023. Question below me. Me been putting the paper now. Please, Minister, take note. Me expecting one response. Me not have come to Parliament lo making the talk, but me are escalating or something whereby time me go necessary head of department. Na am no respond. Me go minister na me no sim response. Next time me by come floor of Parliament. So people below me or can look somewhere else and me working work law.
You make that point of order. When a point of order, Minister.
Governor, some last statement in strike. Me resuming office now in 6 months. All the members of Parliament no got one pass mix similar yubla, except Kainantu, now Vice Minister Blomi. Emptason. So yubla go narapla way, so I'll buy miss away. Thank you.
Honorable Governor, time long you long grievance debate 10 minute na finish.
What?
I suppose you can ask him long incorporate him a statement blade inside Lohansat because plan member is enough na only like debate too.
Me incorporate into the report. Me writing past finish. Now, Minister, let him come to office below you. So suppose you know him, I'm not wrong below me blah. I'm wrong below office below you. Now wrong below agency below you. So what people like Sabe how company now I'm operate like Slahab, only approve him license, time mining, counseling, or even look issues. So past now all get concerns by Miss Halim Kamlo office below you, now office below managing director below you, now chairman below mining licensing council or one something where all no respond to Mipla. Now please enough people respond within a reasonable time, not months or years. Mipla no stable not the country. Thank you.
Honorable Member Blomada.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to affording myself the opportunity to contribute to grievance debate. Mr. Speaker, my grievance debate is in relation to the Minister of Provincial and Local Level Government Affairs' recent press statement reaffirming the Marape government's commitment to conducting the local level government elections as scheduled on the Thursday, 24th of April, which is just 4 weeks away. Mr. Speaker, I note of the earlier question without notice by my opposition colleague, Governor and member of East Sepik Provincial Electorate, Honourable Alan Bird, that was directed to the Minister for Administrative Services and Minister assisting the Prime Minister on constitutional matters concerning the same issue of LLG elections. The Minister replied to that question raised by the Governor that he informed Parliament that last week he had made an NEC submission for 180 million that would cater for both 156 million allocated towards LLG elections and 26 million towards the 5 by-elections. But I would like first to debate the issue concerning the statement by the Minister of Provincial Local Level Government Affairs, because he is the minister responsible under the provincial organic law on provincial national and provincial government elections, which is provided for under Section 271. Mr. Speaker, the Minister's statement... Sorry. Okay. Mr. Speaker, the Minister made a statement stating that he went on to state that the free and fair and safe election with a satisfactory result can only be achieved through a collaborative partnership among all stakeholders. This is the statement made by the Minister for Provincial Government Affairs. And he goes on to say, therefore, he urges the provincial governments and the district development authorities to take ownership of the LLG elections and support the PNG Electoral Commission in delivering a successful elections. He goes on to say the active support and leadership of all stakeholders are critical to maintaining the integrity of the electoral process and enabling our citizens to exercise their constitutional rights without interference and intimidation. Mr. Speaker, the Minister noted that he would like to extend his gratitude to the provincial governments, the DDAs and all stakeholders for their cooperation and support during past elections, and the continued collaboration and commitment will be essential for the success of the up-and-coming elections. Mr. Speaker, I submit that the government is nowhere near ready to conduct the LLG elections. there is no strategic report. The global standard is that a country, when it conducts its elections, it compiles a strategic election report, a strategic plan, confirming how it intends to roll out the elections. And that plan will provide strategic outcomes and how it intends to provide a free, a fair, and secure elections. It will provide clear programs on how it will conduct the polling, how it will conduct the counting. It will provide sub-plans on procurement plans, on how it will procure the election materials, the ballot papers, the ballot boxes. It will have a strategic plan on security, on how it intends to address the risks of security in conducting its elections. And I don't believe the Electoral Commission actually has such a plan. I can go online and I can find so many countries who have a strategic plan, an operational plan, where they demonstrate exactly how they will conduct their elections. They will provide a detailed budget. This is all in the public domain. How they will conduct their elections, what they will spend on polling officials, what they will spend on logistics. That they've done an assessment of security, where the risks are, where the polling locations, where they've got previous instances or previous elections that are high risk, and what measures they are taking to mitigate those security risks from reoccurring. We have no such plan. Now, the last election, LG elections, were left to the provinces and the district. The Electoral Commission was underfunded. It was not supported adequately. Funds came on the 11th hour, as we do in PNG, called PNG time, therefore disrupting their ability to conduct proper planning towards elections. So many of the service providers in the last LG elections and polling officials, even my own electorate, they said, we were never paid. We signed up, we conducted the elections, we were never supported. There was no police presence because there wasn't enough money to pay police allowances. So the elections were ad hoc, managed poorly, and somehow got to a result on their own. But they left a lot of people unpaid. They left a lot of people who shouldn't be paid got paid. Okay, I'm grievance debate, so directed towards the Speaker. So my point is that we are not ready. We had the Minister for Administrative Services claim he brought an NEC submission for 186 million. However, the actual budget that this Parliament passed, that is the only authority to make provision for budgets, is 40 million. It's in the budget paper. We passed it. 40 million by law. So when we have a minister making statements in Parliament claiming that he brought a submission to pass 186 million, who gave him that authority?
He's telling the truth.
NEC has no authority to pass a budget of 186 million.
Prime Minister, what is your point of order?
I want to point the member for Medang to Section 3 powers of the Minister for Treasury in Public Finance Management Act. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Prime Minister, I think your point of order is in order.
Thank you. I take note of the Prime Minister's. Now he's the one talking about giving legal advice. Mr. Speaker, while the Minister has Section 3 powers in terms of making payments or transfer of allocations of funding, however, they have to be for that specific purpose. So we had a UBS loan scandal that we spent some 20 million towards, or contribute towards, and the findings of that commission said only Parliament has the power, Section 209. Only Parliament. So if there's a submission to increase the budget appropriation that Parliament approved the 40 million, then it goes to NEC for submission, but it comes to Parliament. So unless it was a submission for a supplementary budget to bring back to this Parliament to increase the appropriation from 40 million to 186, then that decision, I would say, is unconstitutional. It's outside of the budget framework. So it's unclear how the Minister and the government plans to conduct the elections on illegal use of funds outside the budget framework. and find themselves being challenged in court on this same issue. There is no electoral plan. There's no operational plan. The Electoral Commission, we're just hearing millions. I had the opportunity to go and sit down with the Electoral Commission manager in Madang and ask, what are the preparations? And he said, no money. There was no plan. I was able to secure some details of what it costs to run an election. What electoral officials get paid, looking at the hire car rates, and I'm estimating just to run Madang district, 3 LLGs, it should be no more than 500,000. But we're hearing millions. 180 or 56 million. The reality is, once payment goes to Electoral Commission, it ends up paying previous bills. And we don't even know if those bills are lawful or vetted or legitimate. And the question goes whether it's just a racket to get money and everybody gets paid. We have no visibility. So while a good minister for provincial local government affairs is saying we need to work in partnership, well, where's the partnership? Where's the plan? Where's the budget? Because we got nothing. We had a census that we don't even know what the outcome is yet. A census you can conceal outcomes and delay and talk, you'll get the result later. We're talking LLG election. Now, what is certain between now and then is law and order is worse.
Honourable Member for Madang, sorry for interrupting you. Your time...
1 minute, stop yet, Mr. Speaker.
1 minute.
Thank you. Now, by you, 1 more minute again. So, Mr. Speaker...
Honourable Member, your point of, what is your point of order, Minister?
I reserve my debate to other day, but I want to contribute to grievances debate.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. So, we got 1 minute yet. Yes.
Summarize your...
Or 2 minutes. Mr. Speaker, I put to this government that it has the opportunity to do this properly. Now, I looked at the dates, and if we delay the dates to June 24th, we will still complete LLG elections or polling before September, the independence date of 50 years. In that time of these 3 months, the Electoral Commission, the Minister for Provincial Affairs and Administrative Services can finalize a plan that can have consultation with the relevant DDAs and the provinces, and we can all contribute and ensure that we get a proper LLG elections and not a failed elections, and another 150,000 to run that out, because it's not organized. There will be security issues, and there may even be deaths. And this government has to be responsible and to take all these matters into consideration. My time's up for grievance debate. Thank you, Assistant Speaker.
Honourable Member for Mulbaya.
Thank you, Assistant Speaker. Long look sawe long Mulbaya. Since this week's 2 week session, Mino Sanapso, Milak Maga Mouse long, people from Milo Mulbaya, Lumsa, Milak Toksorin, Salem, Coroner's message go long. Last minute telling, said Julian, people from me. Maga Maus na mitok sorry. Na tua Milak John and Arlor team, all members of Parliament. Last time debate, mi blogi blong GBW. Na mi luki mosem treble member Mary Governor blong Central Staff, member blong not Bougainville, and member for Honourable Member for Raikos, treble mama staff blong display strong him. Mibla mitok thank you long terrible staff. Next 2017 Mibla expect him by Narba terrible can go and check come and check. Or call him 2027. Zero best equity or so equality or so to him. One of this law mil grievance debate for me. Me like talk to long illegal roadblocks around the country illegal roadblocks by smart people. Me like talk. Now, firstly, before me talk, me like talk tengi longa. Look, sabi below me like talk tengi or me blong again. Me like talk tengi longa. Gabna blong. Eastern Islands. Gabna blong. Southern Islands. Member for Goroka Open. Member for Southern Islands. Now, we start. Member you stop long. This last time, no look sabi long. One block. Roadblock lately come up long. Islands Highway in Chelo Goroka. Member Minister Blomi, not Minister Blomi, sorry. Minister of Police, me talk thank you same. Me look people sit down now. Talk one place issue been come up. Long Goroka. Me Western Islands same stop long, center long. 7 islands provinces. Center of the province. Now, me look at Muslim. All this like and something come up. Me come up victim long 7 provinces, which is all people below me, all the people mama mas. Long this ground, lo you may stop. You may got freedom to move. All that something by you must move around a panim kai. You must move so that by panim kai. Continue life journey below you. Work in business. Suppose you stop the house, that's all you stop in Chile, you know that man become give him so. My people, Western Islands especially, me no got mine. Me no got mine stop. The only resource me say depend longan. Kumu blomi misa Salem. Kako blomi misa Salem. Ligli kobi misa Salem. Na kare money kam ko lo na business misa wogen business na. You look at mo se picnic blomi bla go school round free na kan mo sem. No ka don la mi no ka don la enemy long. Papu ningini. Mi laki mol kata man. All kata man em. You me one lo man. Me look at Moshem. Abalance work in trouble. In all the abalance work him. One man work him. Narlo provinces work him. Me come a victim. Now me look at Moshem. All the leaders go talk. Plan something come up. You blow looking blow TV. You blow looking blow media Facebook. All get up. You blow looking Moshem. All mama cry. All bus owners cry, traveling people cry. Now all this are something. Now me no looking all money talk long this blah. All problem, all people me blah facing because me blah representable people. Me looking most all simply bagarap. So one road, me start long in accession go come now. Kind problem come up. Plan the coast police something come up. Me go stop long Brisbane. Me stop long Canberra na something come up. Facebook mix him, story mix him, message mix him. Me I had to ring police, I had to ring defense force, I had to ring all man long ground. Long look how all line doing me. In one time that's all walk him. I'm the first time. You don't need a walk him. Me walk him. All man marry people are watching on our walk him. We have to do something to contain this. I'm wrote and one that's what by me go coming. You may concern of people there. You may want to apply and go come. Man got money back in Balus and go. Balus ticket money go on top. That's the only access people are using loan or people poor people using go come long. Why the man send up the road? Why? You must look sour this law. All people too must away. Me talk fishing and me talk to you must kill ya. Car travel, highway travel, public travel long. You look him inside the bus. You know one the tribe that's all roll inside the bus. You know one block, cancel wood that's all tribe. Deep red man, Mary tribe.
You man Mary stand up long up now you walking road block stop. You look at myself, brother blue to become in long up, sister blue travel and slap, country blue travel and slap, one dog blue to travel and slap car too. Me look at big lot damages, all Western Islands kiss him. All get a bus. Kiss it bagrap, man kiss it bagrap. Lily boy roll karim bolong roll kiss it bagrap. I was not responsible in Islam. And more people from me, district from me, plan to bagrap. I am not feeling good. I am not feeling well. This is not all right. And me last time those people passive Christian bill. One at a time by him respecting man. When are we going to respect one another? All people go come long. Me no like him this last something come up next time. Me some of politicians now you Mr. Blia. You block go facing politicians something me look him. Minister block coffee now you don't talk. One time me look him me long. Facebook or put him go up na talk or same. You sign up na you make him some to long up. Then you face him this la too. Road block. This la can something. Was that but take him responsible on this la something. You will make him something, our arrest must go. Some man and him something. Em sanab long ground of him, no sanab and station of him. This la ground and sanab long. He got mystery to stop long up. Village court official is stop long up. Council is stop long up. Leaders too stop long slap. Man of him and go, but this la man must stop. Now face him this la no talk. All man must understand him was him. Now I say me member of Western Islands. Now me member of Mumbai me talk this like something. Me condemn no talk. Me no like looking behind but come up was him. This one must finish now. Road must free, the man must walk about free round up. They must free. Me like talk and me talk was him. Country me free country me say talk. Democratic rights. All man must understand Islam. Come on. You will like him as a party, you will get time. So the guy road me by road stop here. We will talk to Google and see something I'm started by him. As a speaker. Road must go. So that all man must get access long. Go, this is the road. He must have access stops to it. By all man can take him route from all. You make it free. Some of you look at the problem come up the road. Is a road stop. Shortcut road but go along island provinces. Lumsa, Maneng, Baya, one man road stop. Again Maneng stop. And one time by you walk him. One man stone yet and all come. Bakser one car or car ko pagam long house to a minute dog. Remember, you stop the car of me bagram no karampoa. Usad man was ready to say something. Please. Put in priority now. Road blow me must go. All man must go free. Travel blow must free. Work a business free. Now all man can salim uliglik. Agriculture goods and services. All can salim now. Work free around work business free now. You must stop on Islam. Time you must stop long as long as you exist on Islam ground. And by you must access him. All this like and something. Alice Nambis, no got problem, no got happy. You must go about one time, sit down one time, kirap one time, sleep one time, now work in business one time. All man stand up the road, you sat man looking at TV, clear road, no one go stand up the road. And currently you know stop the road.
Honorable Member. Honorable Member Mulbaya, time blew you up now.
Thank you. Time blew me up, so me some Rashi Mosem. All man must stop Lambus now, walk Lambus now stop. No one comes another road now, walk in business road stop. Business blue, ground blue stop the road. No one ground blue stop the road. Road a place will public long walk about, talk, go come, we can business will come. Police brand free. Now me Vice Minister talk, police brand free. No one man was another road. Police, walk blue. Thank you.
Honorable Member, what is your point of order? Minister for the BLJ, provincial and local level government. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. My grievances debate is continuing from yesterday. Today I want to show to this Honorable House a post-Korea report that made reference to post-Korea being referred by Speaker. Yesterday, I called on this August House. I call upon post-Korea to do three things. First is, well, the House, House, that post-Korea be banned. Two is to summon the editor or the author of the article to come to the House to explain. And third, I specifically asked for apologies from post-Korea. I've checked the post today and I found that the same articles that appeared yesterday covering what we have presented appeared again today. Included in that, they made reference to my talk requesting for apologies from post-Korea. That's different from actually apologizing. That's the difference. Upon checking post-Korea today, I find that post-Korea has not apologized, which I requested for. At least, for me, apologies will give me some peace of mind. Given the enormous psychological and mental stress and shame I went through since yesterday. However, I have checked the post-Korea this morning and found that post-Korea has stubbornly continued to stand by its position. See page 2 of today's paper. I'll quote from what the editor has presented. We affirm that our reporting was based on information presented during the parliamentary session, which included apologies and expression of personal experiences relating to GBV. We reiterate that there was no intent to maliciously defame or embarrass any individual. Should any unintended misrepresentation have occurred, we are prepared to address and clarify the matter before the Parliamentary Privileges Committee. There lies my concern. Given the reaction after what has transpired yesterday on the floor of Parliament, I had a reaction from my wife, and it's not a good reaction. And my sisters who raised concern and stood by me, keep on sending me texts. I have now decided to take post-Korea to court. To clear my name, even if it means last way I have, I'll do it. I take this unfortunate position with full knowledge of the cause and the hurdles in front of me. As you may be aware, I have worked over 50 years of my natural life serving this country. Just like my brother sitting here, some of you, Sepuk on the other side, Sam on this side, Dr. Marod on the other side. And I'm proud of my contribution. First, as a civil servant, I served nearly 30 years, of which 19 years as a head of an organization. And I served not only in this country, my contribution, just like my other brothers, I contributed also in the world stage, in my field. I serve in international organizations as executive board members of many organizations. I've contributed much to this part of the world. Before I left or when I left, I was known as a father of museums in the Pacific. I can tell you. This is a result. This is a book I published. So I have a reputation to protect. And not forgetting my contribution now as a member of Parliament. I've contributed much to the nation. There are a few things I want to make known. I don't want to boast about it, but in the context of what I am now raising, lots of, what has transpired seems to belittle me, made me look so bad. Prime Minister made reference to some of the very important historical sites in this country. I think in this last week of Parliament, in the context of Ambum Spirit Stone, Cook Archaeological Site in Jawaga Province. I was the director of the museum. I pushed that through international organization, UNESCO, in order to be recognized as World Heritage Sites. Sometimes we don't see the importance and significance of these sites. But in world standard, this clarifies and talks about human civilization in the world. Prime Minister was right when he talked about Mesopotamia in Iran. It's one of the oldest historical, archaeological sites. Second, of course, is Cook, which is 9,500 years. But not forgetting the fact that Papua New Guineans have been in PNG for nearly 40,000 years. Why do I say that? We have evidence to suggest that at Shalom Peninsula, a place called Bougainville. Bougainville is what scientists call it geomorphological, archaeological, geological site, spanning over 40,000 years. That too is one of the World Heritage Sites I push. And now it is part of a history of this country and also competing in the international scene. Coming closer to home. Sometimes you go drive up and down Boulevard. Boulevard would have not been there if I had not made a contribution. Boulevard is part of my master plan for museum in Waigan, the precinct of Parliament. It's called Constitutional Park and National Heritage Center plan I did. I secure land, out of which much of that land has been sold away to private interest. But Boulevard, as well as International Convention Center, are the centerpiece of what I had presented. Before I left, or time I left, my biggest contribution is this book. Okay? This is my contribution. I don't want to talk about it. But this is a type of, politicking or reporting by post-Korea has done to my reputation. So I have not taken it lightly. As I've said, I'm going as far as court. I've instructed my lawyers to study the post-Korea reporting. Let me show you this particular reporting again. It has two people in front and two, elderly guys. Papua New Guineans who have contributed to this, and I know. Honorable Samuel Kamu was one of the best policemen. Went up to the highest as maybe a chief inspector. Or me. And in between, there's a person saying, is he a perpetrator or is he an inciter? I want to ask the floor of Parliament. What is his role in this page? I'll be looking at this as well. In my look at taking the matter to court. So I want to register this honorable house, and I want to thank each and every person on this side of the house as well as those on the other side for standing by me and Honorable Simon Cowie and giving us the courage. You know, it is very demoralizing. I felt so bad yesterday, and I wanted at least some peace of mind through Post-Korea doing its part by apologizing, but they have not done that. So with that, once again, I want to thank you, the House, and thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Middle fly. Honorable members, honorable members, the question is that the grievance debate be noted. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those in against no. The ayes have it. Leader of the government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I seek leave of Parliament to move a motion without notice.
Is leave granted? Leave granted. Leader of government business.
Mr. Speaker, I move that so much of standing orders be suspended as would prevent me moving several motions relating to establishment and appointment of members to Bipartition Committee on Bougainville Matters and discharge and appoint of members to the Special Parliamentary Committee on Medium-Term Development Plan 4.
The question is that a motion be agreed to. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those in against say no. The ayes have it. Leader of government business.
Mr. Speaker, I move that Ms. Rufina Peter be discharged as Deputy Chair, Mr. Charlie Benjamin and Mr. Chris Haveta be discharged as members of the Special Parliamentary Committee on Medium-Term Development Plan, and B. Ms. Francisca Semoso be appointed as Deputy Chairperson, Mr. Lawyer Boy Samuel and Mr. Liberty Capris be appointed as members of the Special Parliamentary Committee on Medium-Term Development Plan 4.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those who are against say no. The ayes have it. Leader of government business.
Assistant Speaker, I move that the Parliament establishes a bipartition committee on Bougainville matters consisting of Dr. Alan Marat as Chairman, Mr. Sasindra Mutavel as Deputy Chairman, Mr. Keith Iruhu, Ms. Francisca Semoso, and Mr. Robert Naguri, Sir Peter Ipitas, and Dr. Leonard Tom, Sir Pukatemu, and Mr. William Poe. 2, the committee shall oversee the overall implementation of the Bougainville Peace Agreement as stipulated in the National Constitution of Papua New Guinea. 3, the committee shall report to the National Parliament biannually or as and when required on updates of work in progress on the implementation of the peace agreement. 4, the committee shall undertake visits throughout the country and the autonomous region of Bougainville and hold regular consultation with stakeholders on matters concerning Bougainville referendum results and obtain information relevant for the purpose of updating National Parliament. The quorum required for a meeting is 4 members.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Leader of government business.
Assistant Speaker, I move that Parliament, at its rising, adjourn until 13th of May, 2025 at 2 o'clock p.m.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Honourable members, I now adjourn the Parliament to May 13th at 2 o'clock p.m.
This news program is proudly brought to you by Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits and Now Biscuits.
Marape assured no compromise for health sector's funds. Internal Revenue Commission is set to modernize tax administration. And LLG Administration Amendment Bill welcomed